Hello friends, welcome to Hot Tales, where we dive into tales of love, betrayal, revenge, and wisdom. Kindly support this channel by subscribing, liking the story and sharing it with your friends and loved one. Thank you in advance as you do so. Love you. I still remember the way Logan tore my work in front of everyone. Not figuratively, asterisk literally. Page by page, like it was garbage. Pathetic work, he said coldly, holding my proposal like it smelled bad. 32 executives were sitting around that massive glass conference table, staring at me like I was a car crash. I felt the heat rise to my cheeks. But I didn't flinch. He waved the torn contract in my face. $2.8 million. That's what you think this is worth. You're clearly not ready for the big leagues. I'm Kayla Reeves. I was 34 at the time, the director of new acquisitions at a small but rising firm. And in that moment, I wanted to scream. Or cry. Or maybe flip the table over. But I didn't. I looked Logan straight in the eyes and said calmly, "You're absolutely right, sir. I'm clearly not ready for your league." The entire room went dead silent. Logan blinked, twice. He didn't expect that. Most people beg or cry after he crushes them like that. But I simply stood up, gathered my things, and said, "Thank you for your time." As I walked out, I heard hushed whispers behind me. Nobody walks out on Logan Price. Not after he humiliates them. But I wasn't walking out broken. I was walking out free. Let me rewind a bit. Logan Price was the big dog. CEO of a major industry player. Net worth over $300 million. He was everywhere, magazines, conferences, charity galas. He had the perfect life. A gorgeous wife named Kayla who ran a global foundation. 2 elite school kids. A reputation for being ruthless, but fair. But let's be honest, no one climbs that high by being fair. The proposal he tore apart. That wasn't just paperwork. It was 6 months of my life. It was a deal I'd crafted around a groundbreaking technology created by a genius named Mira Costa. Mira wasn't just an inventor. She was a sister. Her younger sibling suffered from a rare muscular disorder. Mira's tech was her way of fighting back. It wasn't about money. It was about saving lives. I spent months building trust with Mira. Not as a cold corporate buyer, but as a human being. I learned her story, her fears, her dreams. And the deal I presented Logan, it wasn't just numbers. It included full funding for Mira's research for 5 years, creative control for her, a partnership with a respected medical research institute. It was fair, it was ethical, it was visionary, but Logan didn't care about any of that. If it wasn't about domination and profit, it wasn't worth his time. That day, as I walked out of that conference room, I wasn't angry, I was focused. Logan thought he'd embarrassed me, crushed me. What he didn't know was, I had already signed a quiet letter of intent with Mira under my own firm. And I knew something he didn't. Logan's empire was already stretched thin. He needed Mira's technology to stay on top. But now, I had it, and he had nothing. Before I continue, if you've ever been belittled or underestimated, hit the like button. If someone tried to humiliate you and you got your revenge, drop your story in the comments. I read every one. Speech balloon. When Logan ripped up my proposal in front of those executives, what he didn't know was that the $2.8 million he mocked was just the opening number. The full deal was worth a lot more, millions more. But the real power of that deal wasn't in the money. It was in the structure. It protected Mira's research, her values, and gave her full creative control. But Logan didn't care to read past the first page. He saw a number he didn't like and made up his mind. Pathetic, he called it. I left the building and walked into the underground parking lot. I sat in my car, hands on the wheel, engine off. No tears, no panic, just silence. I sat there for nearly an hour, replaying everything in my head, thinking about all the women I'd seen pushed out of this industry. Smart, strong women talked over, stepped on, dismissed. Lydia, she worked in marketing. She didn't flinch. She just stared at her coffee, then, she laughed. A low, bitter sound. "You have no idea what he's really like," she whispered. "The man who humiliated you. That's his best version." She slowly rolled up her sleeve. 4 deep, fading bruises. Finger marks. Around her wrist. He's very careful, she said. Never leaves marks on the face. Never loses it in public. He makes sure no one sees it. I felt my stomach twist. I hadn't expected this. I thought I was dealing with a bully in a suit. Not this. I can't help you directly, Kayla said quietly. If he finds out, he'll come after everything I have. But I can give you information. Proof. And when it matters, I'll back you up. That night, I didn't sleep. This wasn't about ego anymore. Or a public takedown. This man wasn't just toxic, he was dangerous. I called Mira early the next morning. The plan's changing, I said. You still in? She didn't hesitate. After what you just told me about Kayla. More than ever. So we started. Step 1, Mira contacted Logan. She told him she'd changed her mind. Said she'd had a falling out with me. That she was rethinking our deal. And now, she was open to working with him. Predictably, Logan was thrilled. He thought he'd won. Thought his threats had worked. He probably imagined us falling apart behind the scenes while he swooped in to claim the prize. But what he didn't know. He was walking right into the trap. The week of Mira's meeting with Logan, everything started falling into place. Logan invited her to his office for a private conversation, believing she'd turned her back on me. Meanwhile, we were building our case, quietly and carefully. Elliot and I worked around the clock to prepare documentation and press timing. Devin, brilliant as always, built us a secure communication system, untraceable, unhackable. Only the 5 of us had access. Nain, she came through in a big way. She handed us internal company documents showing clear evidence of fraud, real fraud. Not just exaggerated projections, but changed figures, scrubbed losses, even suppressed safety concerns, all leading up to Logan's precious IPO. But the real blow came from Kayla. She gave us recordings, dozens. Logan screaming at her behind closed doors. Logan threatening employees. Logan ordering reports to be falsified. One chilling clip. Logan on a call telling his CFO, "I don't care how you make the numbers fit. Just make them look good. This IPO goes public, or your job doesn't." Another clip showed him dismissing a sexual harassment complaint from a former employee, then threatening to ruin her if she didn't drop it. When I asked Kayla why she had these recordings, she looked away and said quietly, "He thinks I'm too stupid and scared to protect myself." I swallowed hard. You're not. The day of Mira's meeting came. She wore a crisp white blouse and carried Devin's specially made recording pen, sleek, modern, impossible to detect. I sat in a cafe across the street from Logan's office. Coffee untouched. Hands trembling under the table. 3 hours later, Mira walked in. Pale, but glowing. She slid the pen across the table and whispered, "I got it. All of it." That night, all 5 of us gathered in a hotel room, me, Mira, Elliot, Nain, and Devin. We huddled around a laptop, hearts pounding. When Mira hit play, the room went quiet. Logan's voice was smooth at first, charming even. He spoke about innovation, legacy, changing lives. He told Mira how special she was. That her work mattered. Then, his real voice came out. He told her the truth. "We'll file the patents under my company. You'll be chief researcher on paper, but you won't have control. I can't have a junior partner messing with the roadmap. And if you push back, I'll make sure the industry thinks you're unstable. One word to the right people and your tech will never pass regulation." Then he laughed. "You know how it is, female-led projects always get extra scrutiny. One rumor about your safety protocols. Done. That's just the game, sweetheart." But the moment that hit me the hardest, it came when Mira asked about me. "Why did you reject Kayla's proposal?" There was a pause, then Logan's voice dropped, cocky, venomous. "Kayla Reeves. She's a nobody, just another ambitious woman who thinks she's special. I've dealt with dozens like her. They either learn their place, or they disappear." And then, as if that wasn't enough, he went on. He explained, casually, how he'd sabotaged me over the past year. "I've had a few quiet chats with people she worked with. Told them she was difficult. Unstable. I made a few calls to HRs, just suggestions. She's lucky to get callbacks at all." I stared at the speaker, frozen. I'd blamed the job market. My confidence had taken hit after hit lately, projects falling through, interviews ghosting me. I thought maybe I'd lost my edge. But it was him. Logan had systematically destroyed my reputation, behind my back. And I never even knew. Why? Mira asked him in the recording. Why go to all that trouble over someone you say is a nobody? Logan's answer still makes my stomach turn. Because she didn't beg. She looked me in the eye and walked out like she had power. I couldn't let that stand. I had to remind her who runs this world. That was it. We had everything we needed. Proof of fraud, abuse, retaliation, corruption, and worse, we had his words, in his own voice. Because she reminds me of my wife, Logan said in the recording. That same look in her eyes, like she thinks she's better than me. Women like that, need to be taught their place. The room fell silent. No one moved. No one breathed. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even blink. The voice in the recording, that cold, smug voice, it wasn't just cruel. It was calculated. Kayla had quietly slipped into the room halfway through the playback. She stood in the corner, arms crossed tightly over her chest. Her voice broke the silence. Now you understand, she said softly. This was never about business for him. It's always been about control. And just like that, everything inside me shifted. This wasn't just about me anymore. Or Mira, or Kayla. It wasn't even about Logan's cruelty alone. This was about stopping him, so he couldn't hurt anyone else ever again. I looked around the room at the people who had trusted me with their stories, their risks, their pain. Elliot, Devin, Mira, Kayla, Nain, they were waiting for the next step. Tomorrow, I said, my voice steady and clear, we end this. No one slept that night. We met again at dawn. A quiet hotel room, gray light spilling in through the curtains. Kayla looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her face was pale but calm. She sat beside me and said quietly, I've been a prisoner for 12 years. I looked at her. Are you sure? I asked. Once this starts, you can't go back. She nodded. I'm not going back. I'm breaking out. The plan was simple, clean, legal, ruthless. We weren't going to lie. We weren't going to leak fake documents or hack accounts. We were going to use the truth. Truth, deployed like a carefully aimed arrow, silent, precise, and deadly. Step 1. The article. Elliot finally published his long-suppressed story. Not on a blog, not on a gossip site, but in the top business magazine in the country. The editor-in-chief, a woman Logan had once blocked from getting a promotion. She'd been waiting for this story. It wasn't just an exposé, it was a full-scale breakdown of everything. Internal documents from Nain, financial fraud leading up to the IPO, first-hand testimonies from former employees, verifiable audio clips of Logan abusing his power. By 9 a.m. the article was live. By 9:15, Logan called an emergency board meeting. Step 2. The data drop. While Logan was locked in that boardroom trying to control the damage, Devin flipped the switch. He uploaded everything we had to a secure server. Every document, every recording, every whistleblower email. No fluff, no drama, just cold, brutal facts. He didn't leak it to the public. Instead, we sent direct access to 3 groups. The SEC investigators who had already been quietly monitoring Logan's IPO statements. The board members now sitting across from him in that emergency meeting. The 5 largest institutional investors who were set to pour millions into the IPO. Within minutes, the story was out of Logan's control. He didn't even know yet, but the walls were already collapsing around him. Step 3. Kayla's press conference. We agreed Kayla wouldn't mention Logan directly. If she attacked him publicly, it would be dismissed as a bitter ex-wife. He'd spin it, call it emotional, personal, jealous. So instead, she stood in front of a dozen cameras and announced a new initiative through her foundation. It was focused on corporate harassment and domestic abuse, especially in high-ranking executives. Her words were calm, her tone, precise. Too often, she said to the press, we assume that power equals character. It doesn't. Sometimes, the most powerful people are the most broken. The most dangerous. She never said his name. But the world already knew. She never said Logan's name. She didn't need to. Kayla's press conference was perfectly timed, just hours after the article and evidence began circulating. By noon, Logan's carefully built world was collapsing like a house of cards. The boardroom turned chaotic. One of the members walked out mid-meeting. Another followed, slamming the door behind him. I heard later they refused to be connected to a man exposed for fraud, abuse, and intimidation. Investors were panicking. The IPO was dead. Reporters were circling like vultures. And me, I was sitting in Logan's office calmly waiting for him. His assistant had let me in after I fed her a lie, something about wanting to apologize for the Costa proposal misunderstanding. She didn't believe me fully, but she let me through. So there I sat, in one of those cold leather chairs across from Logan's polished desk. Waiting, and for the first time in a long time, I felt calm. Not angry, not vengeful, just right, like I was exactly where I needed to be. 40 minutes later, the door swung open. Logan stormed in, red-faced and furious. He slammed the door behind him and gripped his desk like it might steady his crumbling world. He didn't even notice me at first. When he finally saw me, he froze. "What the hell are you doing in my office?" he barked, voice shaking with rage. I looked him straight in the eye and smiled. Not to mock him, just to mark the moment. "I wanted to be here," I said, "for this." "What moment?" "The moment I call security and have you dragged out." "No," I said softly. "The moment you realize it's over." His face darkened. "You think that article's going to destroy me? I've survived worse. Give it a week, people will forget." I shook my head. "It's not just the article. The SEC has your falsified financial records. The board has the recordings, all of them, including the ones Kayla made at home. Your investors are pulling out. The IPO is gone." I watched the color drain from his face. Rage turned to confusion, then disbelief, then, slowly, fear. You can't prove anything." But his voice wasn't firm anymore. It cracked at the edges. "We already did," I replied, standing up. "Your board is meeting right now to remove you. The district attorney's office has been handed evidence of financial fraud. And Kayla," I paused, watching his jaw tighten. "She's filed for divorce, and a restraining order, detailed with 12 years of abuse." That's when he lunged. He came around the desk, hand raised like he might actually hit me. I didn't move. I didn't even flinch. "That would be a mistake," I said calmly, nodding toward the corner. "There are cameras in this room. Your cameras. And right now, people are watching them very closely." His hand froze in the air, then dropped. And just like that, I saw it. Logan, once towering, confident, untouchable, shrinking before my eyes. No longer a giant, just a man. A small, frightened man clinging to power he no longer had. "Why?" he asked finally, voice hoarse. "Why do this?" "Because I rejected your deal. Because I hurt your feelings." He scoffed. "This is what women do. You can't handle business, so you make it personal." I almost laughed. Even now, even here he couldn't see it. "This isn't about feelings, Logan," I said. "This is about justice." I stepped forward, voice steady. "For Lydia, who almost died because of you. For Javier, whose work you stole. For Kayla, who lived 12 years in your shadow, scared and bruised. For Mira, whose invention you tried to bury, and yes, for me." I turned toward the door. "But most of all, Logan. This is for everyone you would have hurt next." At the door, I looked back one final time. His hands were gripping the edge of his desk again. But this time, he wasn't clinging to power. He was holding on because he had nothing else left. "You called my work pathetic," I said before I walked out of his office for the last time. "But here's the thing, my work stands on its own." I paused at the door, turning back just briefly. "Can you say the same, Logan?" I didn't wait for an answer. I didn't need one. The answer was already being written, across news headlines, across the plunging stock ticker, in the panicked footsteps of employees packing up boxes in the hall. I stepped out of the building and found them waiting for me. Mira, Nain, Devin, Elliot, Kayla. Kayla looked different now, stronger, lighter. For the first time, she looked alive. "Is it done?" Mira asked. I nodded. "It's done." What happened next moved faster than any of us expected. By that evening Logan was removed as CEO by a unanimous board vote. By morning the SEC launched a formal investigation. By the end of the week, Logan was indicted on multiple charges of financial fraud, investor deception, and workplace misconduct. Kayla's divorce filing became a bombshell on its own. It included photos, journal entries, video clips, and medical reports from years of abuse, physical and psychological. Despite Logan's legal team trying to fight it, the judge ruled completely in her favor. She was granted full control of the foundation they built together, freedom, and, finally, peace. As for Mira, her tech was picked up by a smaller, ethics-first firm that gave her everything Logan never would: full creative control, equity, and respect. The deal I originally built for her, the one Logan mocked, ended up being worth nearly 3 times what we initially projected. And then something strange happened. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Not with hate, but with job offers. Board seats. Advisory roles. Interviews. People saw what we did and didn't call it revenge, they called it strategy. For the first time in my career, I had options. Real ones. But I didn't take them. Instead, Mira and I launched something new. Restitution Partners, a consultancy and venture firm built to help female innovators bring their ideas to market without losing control. Some said the name was a little bold. We said it was earned. 3 months later I got a letter. No return address. But the thick, expensive stationery gave it away before I opened it. One sentence. I underestimated you. Logan's handwriting. No apology. No responsibility. Just one cold line that, for him, was basically a surrender. I didn't reply. Some people don't deserve the courtesy of a response. 6 months after the fall, Kayla joined us. She brought her foundation's network, her resources, and her fire together. We expanded. We built a support system, legal, financial, emotional, for women and marginalized entrepreneurs who had faced abuse, manipulation, or sabotage in the business world. It became more than a business, it became a movement. And Logan, last I heard, he was renting a small condo somewhere in Arizona. He works quietly now, consulting for mom and pop businesses. No features, no headlines, no boards or conferences. The powerful man who once dominated boardrooms with fear and arrogance now shuffles between obscurity and regret. No one at his former level will return his calls. His reputation asterisk, the one thing he worshipped more than anything. Gone. Destroyed not with vengeance, but with truth. The company he built, it survived. Under new leadership. People who understood that ethics and innovation aren't enemies, they're allies. And us. We didn't just walk away with a win. We walked away with a mission. Some of the people Logan hurt found peace in seeing justice done. Others just wanted to move on quietly. And both were valid. But me, sometimes I still remember that day in the conference room. Sitting there, all eyes on me, Logan calling my 6 months of work, pathetic, in front of 32 silent faces. I remember the way my chest burned. The lump in my throat. How close I came to breaking. He wanted me to fold. To cry. To look small. But I didn't. I chose to walk out instead, with my dignity, my purpose, and eventually, a victory that was bigger than I ever imagined. Now, when I think back, I don't just think about Logan. I think about all the other Logans out there, still sitting at the top of their towers, still hurting people, still untouched. And I wonder, who will be brave enough to stand up to them next? Maybe it's you. Maybe you're watching this right now, someone who's been humiliated, silenced, underestimated. Maybe you're thinking, I could never do what she did. But I'm here to tell you, you could. With the right support, with the right evidence, with the right timing, you could stand up. You could make it right. You could change everything, not just for yourself, but for others, too. So if this story meant something to you, even a little, right finger, please subscribe to this channel. I don't just share these stories for entertainment. I share them because we need a community, one that believes in accountability, not silence. Speech balloon, leave a comment. Let me know what you've been through. Let someone else scrolling through know they're not alone. Thumbs up and please like this video, because that tiny click might push this message to someone who desperately needs it. If you're facing your own Logan, remember this. Their power only survives when you stay quiet. Their control only lasts as long as you're afraid. But the moment you decide, really decide, I've had enough, That's when everything starts to shift. It won't be easy, it won't be fast, but justice, real justice, is worth every single step. And we'll be here, walking with you.